Out of light, dark. Out of dark, light. Out of darkness, light. Light out of light, dark. The Light, the Shade is a series of paintings I've been working on since 2012, in which I create work that are small, postcard-sized still life and landscape paintings that are my interpretation, my meditation on Robert Lax's poem entitled The Light, the Shade. Robert Lax was an American poet who wrote simple, minimalist poems that were about the kind of meditation on being, on seeing, on the simplicity in life, being in the present moment. And I've been really interested in this poem for the last 6 years. And so this work is my connection to it. And specifically, I created 21 paintings in this series in 2017 that were created on the island of Patmos, Greece, where Robert Lax lived towards the end of his life. So I lived in the neighborhood where Robert Lax lived, and so this work is as close as I could get to connecting to him and this poem and kind of capturing and bringing forward my passion for what this poem is about and what it means to me. The Light, the Shade is a book-length poem that is very much visual and tactile and spiritual to me. There are passages in it that are purely talking about color. There are passages about it that are talking about light and shade, obviously. And there are many passages that have to do with what it means to be a human, what it means to feel things, what it means to be on this planet and kind of coexisting with nature. So there are a lot of different ways of interpreting the poem, and for me, I think that I was drawn to it for the simplicity of it and its direct connection to painting, where, I spend day after day in my studio studying light and carefully setting up still life paintings so that the interplay of light and dark and the kind of cascade of light across these sort of simple objects is something that captures my attention and that sort of speaks to something bigger than myself, something that will draw other people into it. My work is often inspired by things that I've read or places I've visited. And for me, being an artist who makes pretty traditional still life painting in a contemporary context, I find that my connection to this work by Robert Lax is a way for the work to speak to people today. And I feel like I could never do his poem justice, but in my own way, I feel like my ongoing response to it through these paintings is something that is always growing and changing. And so my understanding of it 5 years ago has grown and changed a lot to what my understanding is today. And certainly the work for me has really shifted since I've been in Greece and lived where he lived. I feel so grateful to Bob Lax and his work for having inspired me. When I started this project, I had no idea where it would go. 6 years later, and I see this body of work, and I am still just as excited by this. And what's even more exciting now is to see how it has resonated with other people and the speed with which other people respond to it and the depth of response, and just kind of seeing my own relationship to the work grow and change through other people's understanding of it, and realizing how universal it is and how important it is and how this affects people every single day, thinking about the light and the shade and the ways in which it affects their lives. The rising, the rising, the falling, the falling, the light, the shade.